I'm literally gone. Like, Nico D'Angelo's getting his own novel? How dare you invent hay fever? Like a horror where, like, the child is possessed. Rick Riordan literally said, yeah, I'm not playing around with this series. Okay, so first of all, Rick Riordan, how dare you? Hey besties, it's Joel and welcome to episode 5 of Reading the Riordanverse, where this week we're going to be reading the Trials of Apollo series by Rick Riordan. I am so freaking excited for this series. You have no idea. This was supposed to go live last month, however, I did have a bit of like a break from YouTube to get used to my masters and stuff, so we're having it this month instead, and boy oh boy, is there a lot to talk about. I am just very much excited to finally get into this series. Like, look how stunning the spines look. If you have yet to take a drink of water, please do so. We need to be remaining hydrated and healthy, and if you've yet to check out my Instagram nor my Twitter, I would highly recommend you go do those as well, because I post some extra bookish content that you're not gonna see here. The whole riordanverse has just been amazing to read so far, and I am just super happy to finally complete the Camp Half-Blood Chronicles so far with the Trials of Apollo series. This has been one of the most requested series for me to read, apart from the Heroes of Olympus, and so I'm really excited to see how Rick Riordan ups the stakes in these books. And if you've yet to check out the first 4 episodes of Reading the Riordanverse, I would highly recommend you go and do those first, so you can go and see me read Percy Jackson and the Olympians, which basically blew my socks away with how amazing the initial introduction to the Riordanverse was. The Kane Chronicles, which basically the Kane children are just amazing magicians and I'm jealous of their abilities. The Heroes of Olympus series, which literally I still cannot process to this day, was amazing and phenomenal. And then last time on Reading the Riordanverse, I read Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard, which basically was amazing. This is an Alex Fierro and Blitzstone stan account, so I would highly recommend you go check those 4 episodes out because they're just amazing, and I really love to see all of your reactions in the comment section. But before we actually talk about the Trials of Apollo, I do have 2 things to cover. First of all, I was very kindly sent a box of goodies from Disney Books to help celebrate the release of Daughter of the Deep by Rick Riordan, which basically is inspired by Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I literally think they've just seen me like read the Riordanverse and they're like, great, we're gonna send this to you because Rick Riordan, and I'm like, thank you, I accept. I think I might do a quick video on this. I'm not exactly sure yet, but I think it would be very interesting if I did do like a cute bonus video. But they also sent me a few goodies as well. I have this like bum bag that says seize the day, so that's very good for when I go underwater exploring at some point, I guess. I think the main highlight though of the actual box was this bucket hat, which I think whilst it kind of goes with this outfit because of the red and the yellow. Yeah, I do kind of like the way that it looks. I think it's pretty amazing. They also gave me these like whale gummies, if you can have a look here. Like, I am really obsessed with them. So I think I'm gonna try them on camera because I haven't actually tried them yet. They're blueberry flavored baby whales. I'm so sorry to these baby whales that they're about to be eaten by me. They look so cute. Like, let me just grab one out. Oh. Okay, it's about to go in my mouth now. I'm gonna need one more actually just to verify the flavour. Disney knows what they're doing. This is amazing. I might be snacking on these whilst I read the Trials of Apollo today. But actually, we do have another bit of amazing news. Mark Oshiro and Rick Riordan are co-writing together a Nico D'Angelo novel. The fact that Mark Oshiro in his thread tweeted at me being like, the person's reaction that I'm most excited to see is mine, purely because of this Reading the Riordanverse series and like my love of like our son Nico D'Angelo. I don't think I can ascend any higher. I don't think life could get any better. Like, literally, I'm deceased. I'm literally gone. Like, Nico D'Angelo's getting his own novel with Will Solis. Yes, this is a bit of a spoiler for the Trials of Apollo series. However, with the end of Heroes of Olympus, I kind of knew they were gonna get together. Like, Rick Riordan does do foreshadowing really well. So yeah, I'm really excited for that. But also, I'm just excited for my son to have his own novel. I'm really excited. I will bribe every single person that I can find at Disney and Rick Riordan Presents in order to actually get this arc. And once I have this arc, of course I will make a video continuing reading the riordanverse and just be utterly shocked with how amazing it's going to be, because I know this is going to be amazing and I know it's going to be iconic and I cannot wait to actually consume it. But yeah, the fact that like all of you and Mark and I like the fact that Rick Riordan could have potentially already have seen these videos of me reading the riordanverse blows my mind. He hasn't confirmed that he's seen these yet, but I feel like he might have. And Rick Riordan, knowing that I'm existing, I'm here, my brain is overloading. If Rick Riordan somehow watches this, hello Uncle Rick, we'd love to see you here. Thank you so much for watching and for writing these amazing books. I would love to chat with you sometime. I don't know in what capacity, but I think it'd be pretty awesome to just have a conversation. Let us now get into the Trials of Apollo series, because I've talked for way long enough. These are 5 stunningly covered books, and I believe the covers again were done by the stunning, amazing, powerful, ultra detailed illustrator John Rocco. And so we have The Hidden Oracle, The Dark Prophecy, The Burning Maze, The Tyrant's Tomb, and finally book 5, The Tower of Nero. And I definitely think John Rocco's illustrative style has come so far since the very beginning with Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I just find that each series has its own distinctive art style, and it kind of changes, I think, upon the seriousness of the novels. The novels do become a lot more serious as we go through the series, and it's interesting to see how Rick Riordan also balances the comedic aspects with the seriousness and how much darker things can become. It's gonna be scary. I'm very afraid. I'm not prepared, but also I feel like Rick Riordan has enough skill in the writing that he will make me suffer, but then also envelop me in a warm blanket and I'll be okay. So we're starting off with The Hidden Oracle, and the only thing I really know about this series is the fact that Apollo gets made human for punishment with what happened in the Heroes of Olympus series. And so on the nakedness, we have this A with the, I guess assuming for Apollo, and then just the Hidden Oracle on the side. Also, the fact that it's called the Hidden Oracle makes me believe that Rachel Elizabeth Dare will have something to do with this series. So it'll be very interesting to see how it comes into play and how everything comes into play. But I'm very excited to start this series. I'm very excited to take you along with me on the journey. As you know, with every riordanverse vlog, you'll be getting my reactions as I read through every single book. And it's really amazing to see the amount of reactions that people have in the comment section, seeing I know exactly what he's reacting to when he's reacting to at this time. And it's amazing. I like the amount of people that have said they've now picked up the riordanverse because of these videos. It's just been amazing, and I'm really, really happy that I've been able to make these videos for you. It's really sad as well, actually, because I do have one special video planned for for next month, and then I might do one more in January, but then the riordanverse is basically done for now. I kind of have a seminar that I need to leave for in 45 minutes, so I probably won't start this now. However, when I come home, I will start the Trials of Apollo. But yeah, I'm gonna get to reading the Hidden Oracle, and I'll catch up with you once I've finished, give my whole thoughts and feelings, the whole spiel, we know what happens, and yeah, I'm gonna see you in a bit, besties. So before we get into the Trials of Apollo, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Audible, who I'm sure you're aware of as one of the leading providers of spoken word entertainment. Audiobooks, which are a valid and amazing form of reading, make reading so much more accessible, whether it's to people who cannot read physical books, or to people who can make reading a versatile and multitasking tool. I often read audiobooks while I'm working out, cooking, when I'm on my commute to university, or just wanting to read along with the physical book as well for a much more cinematic reading experience. On Audible, there are thousands of titles and podcasts for you to listen to, and I think it amounts to almost 3 centuries worth of audio, which is literally amazing. And with an Audible membership, you can download and listen to titles offline, anytime and anywhere, which even means in the middle of the woods. Each month, you'll receive a credit that you can use for their premium selection, and they are yours to keep forever in your library. And plus, you can even access their Plus catalog, which has thousands upon thousands of spoken word entertainment for you, which you can download and stream to your heart's content. There are no credits needed for the Plus catalog. During this video, and actually as of today, I decided to listen to parts of The Burning Maze on my commute to university, and I just found it added so much more to the reading experience. I think it's just super easy to just browse Audible, find the book that you like, and just do a few taps, and then suddenly it's in your library and ready for you to listen to. And so new members can try Audible for 30 days if you go onto audible.com/fictionalfates or text fictional fates to 500 500. And again, a massive thank you for Audible for being today's sponsor, and now we can commence the Trials of Apollo. Okay, as always, let us get the dust jacket back on the book so we can discuss. The Trials of Apollo, Book 1, The Hidden Oracle. Wow. I believe that this is definitely more of a setup novel, and it's definitely clear more than the first books in the Percy Jackson and the Olympians and Heroes of Olympus series that this was a setup novel. We did have a little bit of a conflict, but you can really tell from this first book that the main conflict was Apollo's internal conflict with his persona as a god and the persona now he has as a mortal. And it's very interesting to see the contrast and slight identity crisis that Apollo goes through with this novel. Although there is one slight thing that I can't forgive Apollo for, and that is the invention of hay fever. Like, how dare you invent hay fever? Like, why do I have to suffer every single year with this pollen allergy just because you decided one day that it would be fun to invent? It would be fun to invent. Why? Let's just hope I don't sneeze my head off or something. This book was just amazing. We really got to see kind of how the series continues, how it intermingles with other series like Magnus Chase. It was very interesting to see this development of everything coming to a sort of culmination, and this definitely feels like a final series kind of thing, but like also not a final series kind of thing. I feel like this is kind of starting to wrap up a lot of the Camp Half-Blood Chronicles storylines that Rick Riordan presented from the very first series, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, with the introduction of the main villains of this series and the links of how they've been here since the beginning, burying their roots deep and causing a lot of the conflicts that we've seen throughout these past series. I think Apollo was characterized very well, and his character growth throughout this novel was very clearly tracked, and you can really see that the change that he has and the personal growth that he has through this novel is very warranted given the changes that happens through the plot. Will and Nico, Nico and Will. Solangelo supremacy. I'm so excited for the Solangelo novel because of this. Like, the guttural reaction I had when Will called Nico his boyfriend. You all saw in the reaction footage. You all saw how I felt. It was amazing. I'm so happy for these two, and I'm glad that we didn't have to like go through this whole like romantic phase of them like, will they, won't they? It's literally just straight into it like they're boyfriends, and it's great, and I love it. We also got to meet Apollo's other children, Kayla and Austin, who I find to be pretty cool people. Like, they were very like nice to Apollo, and I feel like the way that his cabin comes to support him during his like mortal crisis is very nice and touching in a way. I feel like Apollo through this has this kind of humanization of sorts where he realizes that he's done a lot of wrong things as a god, and it kind of brings him down to a more humble level of sorts, and I think it was very interesting to see that kind of change happen. We also get Meg, who is a very interesting character to say the least given the events of this novel, but it really speaks to the amount of psychomanipulation and abusive parentage, and it's interesting and also like hard to read at points because of certain things that she goes through. I personally relate to. I feel like the way that Rick Riordan writes it is just so well done because it's letting kids know who read this that this behavior isn't okay. But yeah, overall, The Hidden Oracle was just such an amazing start to a series, and we're really going to see now how this continues and the whole mystery surrounding the oracles. We got our other main boy, my other son, Leo Valdez, back in the game. I'm so excited to see him. I think it's going to be really great. I'm going to drink a sip of my tea first before I bring up the other book, but this is now your signal to go grab a beverage. That was a weird saying of beverage, but I'm going to take it. But we'll now be proceeding on to The Dark Prophecy, which is the second book in the series. Are these an army of ostriches? Is that an army of ostriches? Okay, I hadn't really looked at this cover properly, but we have flying griffins. I'm assuming this is Apollo, but I find that this title, The Dark Prophecy, either relating to the prophecy that Apollo got at the end of book 1, or it's gonna be something much scarier. I don't really know what's gonna happen. I haven't read like the like synopsis yet, but I love how the synopsis are written from like Apollo's perspective. Also, actually, let us quickly touch upon the fact that Rick Riordan writes a haiku for every single chapter, like typed as a title. This man's writing power and ability to write like 30 odd haikus for one novel. Like, for every novel. He must have written like 100-ish, like, or even 200 haikus for the entire series. Like, this man's power as a writer is immense. I just want him to teach me, like, to give me, like, lessons on the craft. I'm very excited to read The Dark Prophecy. Its nakedness is a gorgeous red color. I had to wear red to match it, you know? I'm gonna try and color coordinate with the books. I know all of you have told me to be very afraid and very scared. I am. I very much am. But it's my godly parent. And so I'm gonna continue reading my father's tales, and I will catch up with you once I finish the Dark Prophecy, give my whole thoughts on the whole spiel, maybe some foreshadowing thoughts that I have. And so yeah, I'll see you in a bit, besties. Hello besties, good morning. I made a plan to get up at 7 o'clock this morning, however, despite my alarms going off and me actually waking up, I decided it would be better if I just stayed in bed and actually woke up at 9:30 instead. But anyways, let us get the dust jacket back on so that we can discuss this book. Okay, so The Dark Prophecy was very much a ride, like these griffins here. Actually, I'm gonna cry if I start talking about griffins, so let us quickly move on. This series very much is Apollo confronting his past and kind of things that he can't exactly remember because of his mortal brain, but also just kind of realizing the wrongdoings that he did across his era as a god. And it's very interesting to see kind of this humility come from Apollo as he kind of goes through this book, looking at the things that he did and looking at the results and the consequences of his choices. And it's very interesting to see it come back to bite him. I just love the way that we kind of see Apollo having to learn and grow from his past actions, and whether this will reflect when he becomes a god again. We don't know if he even becomes a god again, but we did get to see a lot of cool character dynamics throughout this. We got to see Calypso and Apollo, which is a very interesting combination given the fact that Calypso is much older than Apollo. It was so interesting to kind of see the dynamic between them and then the mutual respect they kind of have for one another later down the line, but also the fact that Apollo kind of realizes his wrongdoings in not voting to get Calypso off of Ogygia early. I really liked the kind of dynamic between the two of them being powerless, not having their godly powers, but then finding their new sense of self, which is very interesting to see. We also got some really cool new characters in this, Josephine and Emmy, who are like two previous hunters from the Hunters of Artemis, now a sapphic couple, and I love it. They have their daughter Georgina, who kind of reminded me of like a horror where like the child is possessed, and it was freaking hilarious. Like, I mean, it's kind of sad the way that she was possessed, but I found it kind of humorous. The way that she was just like, die, Apollo, die. Like, kind of like that, like death. But it's probably sad given the fact that she was being driven mad by these kind of like things. But I kind of found the interaction between her and Apollo near the end to be absolutely funny, so it was kind of great. We also got Sarah, Jamie, and Hunter, who are like three characters who were introduced at the very latter part of the novel. It kind of culminates in this whole like found family thing. It literally made me want to cry. It just feels like there could be a whole novel set at the way station with all of these characters and kind of the way that they do things. And there's already like inklings towards like some future series that I see through this novel, where Thalia comes into it as well with the thing that she's hunting, and it's very interesting to kind of see that dynamic between Thalia and Apollo as well, given the fact that Thalia is probably the closest to Artemis at the moment, and Artemis and Apollo can't interact with one another because of Zeus. Leo Valdez comes back in this book, and he is very iconic, but the Apollo and Meg are really where the novels shine because of the dynamic between them, especially especially given the fact what happened in the previous novel. Loyalty isn't really a massive thing between them right now. However, throughout this, I think loyalty between them has kind of like shifted upwards. I definitely think that their bond is much stronger now. If you haven't made yourself a cup of tea yet, please do so. I got this beautiful cloud mug recently from Roundabout Ceramics, and it's just so amazing. I am gonna get another one when their Christmas sale goes up, and like I've had a few interactions with them on Instagram and they're just amazing. But I'll leave their Instagram linked down below so that you can stay updated as well. Go tell them I sent you as well, because we love to share and care. But yeah, overall, the plot to this was very intriguing, given the fact that this actually delved deeper into one of Apollo's tragedies that he had caused, and kind of the consequences of that, and the way that he has to face his past and take kind of responsibility for his actions. And we definitely see this through the end, where he kind of helps Meg through a difficult time. Commodius, in and of himself, is a very interesting villain. I think Commodius, in and of himself, just was more so concerned about the name and his reputation, rather than the fact of what he was doing. He basically got everyone else to do his grunt work, and then he was there for all of the glory and the fame. I'm glad that like what happened to him, but we probably will see him again later down the line, which is gonna fucking suck. As a whole, The Dark Prophecy, it was a good kind of book, and I'm really excited now to continue on with The Burning Maze, which again, I'm kind of color collaborating with today with the green. This is kind of like a different shade of green, but like I really wanted to wear this jumper today because I have a seminar at 1 o'clock and I'm gonna be reading this on the train. I think I'm also gonna be using the audiobook as well. I'm really excited for The Burning Maze. One of these is Apollo, definitely. One is Meg. Oh my god, I even forgot to like acknowledge the ending of The Dark Prophecy, where we have one of our OG characters from Percy Jackson and the Olympians come back. So here we have Apollo, Grover, and Meg. I am so excited to have Grover back because it has been an age. It has been a time since we've had Grover be like a main character within a book. We get him back. Like, thank you, Meg. Like, one of the most amazing like 12-year-olds of this series. The way that she acts as well is very reminiscent of a 12-year-old, and like while some may call her immature, she is literally a child. She is literally a child. Like, I saw a Goodreads review being like, Meg is so immature, like she kind of ruins the plot and stuff, and I'm like, no, it's the fact that she's 12 years old that makes the plot more interesting. I like her. She's great. She's literally what I would have acted like at 12 years old if I had more confidence in myself. I'm really excited to read this. It's like the midpoint of the series, so I think we're really going to see a shift in character dynamics and also character growth. I feel like this is going to be where Apollo kind of consolidates his identity as Apollo as opposed to like Lester. So I think this is going to be like the turning point. I think there's going to be a tragedy that happens in this. I'm not prepared for it, but I know there's going to be a tragedy because there needs to be a midpoint that is so heartbreaking, so like gut-wrenching that it literally shifts the entire series, because this is literally the villain that has been here since the very beginning of the series, and so we need something really gut-wrenching in order to like take hold of me and make me cry. So I'm gonna get to reading The Burning Maze, and I'll be back later with my thoughts, feelings, maybe I'll be crying, and yeah, I think this is like my favorite cover so far, but I'll see you in a bit, besties. Good morning, besties. So, let us pop the dust jacket back on so that we can discuss. I finished this book last night, and oh god, I feel the tears coming. Rick Riordan literally said, yeah, I'm not playing around with this series. People you love will die. It was hard. Obviously, it was foreshadowed. I knew it was gonna happen, but it still hurt me when I saw it happen. And it was so hard to read, but also I'm very much excited because I know someone's probably gonna go search for that person. But let us get on to like the main points about this book. This really was a turning point for Apollo as he kind of realizes from Jason Grace that he needs to remember his humanity. And especially when he comes back to being a god, he needs to remember what it means to be a human. And I think because of all these experiences that he's had with the demigods and other people throughout like the 3 books so far, he's kind of come to realize that the gods literally just do jack shit for people. And so he needs to become someone better, become a new and better Apollo. And I think through the interactions that he has with Medea, with Caligula, and also with Helios, while the like remaining linger embers of Helios, the previous sun god, he's kind of reminded of where he came from and now where he is, and kind of how Caligula in their plot to kind of overthrow Apollo in a way. Apollo realizes kind of the importance of not only being a god of the sun, but also why it was majorly important for him to both succeed Helios and also become Helios's heir and take the sun chariot for himself. It's not this whole bravado show of just like, ooh, I'm the sun god. Actually, it comes with responsibilities that he needs to uphold. And he's kind of reminded about that with Helios. And it was a very interesting thing to watch, like Apollo and Helios kind of have this interaction. But the whole novel in and of itself was very, very well written. It was definitely a turning point, as I aforementioned, and it's very exciting to kind of see Apollo become more resolved in his efforts now to defeat the emperors. Like Caligula was definitely a villain. I have no words. And then Medea as well, like combined, they're both really bad. A match made in Tartarus. A match made in Tartarus. What else was there? Oh, Grover. Grover was amazing in this book. We really got to see him take on a more leadership role. And like Apollo, we don't really see like Grover initially as someone who's being a leader, but the Dryads and everyone else listen to him. And so it's amazing. The Melier, oh my god, the Melier. They remind me of like the aliens from Toy Story where they're like the claw, or like minions from Despicable Me. They kind of remind me of that. And they're like, the Meg. It's so funny and comedic. Super strong dryads that like literally act like the aliens from Toy Story. Like, could there be no better combination? I think not. I found that this book's Oracle Hierophile was definitely interesting, and the way that the crossword kind of thing worked, it was actually hilarious to see. And I think like the puzzles of like dispelling the oracles, amazing. I think it was just such a cool way of just bringing a different way of telling oracles into it. We now get to see Apollo and the gang go to Camp Jupiter in the next book because of one of these prophecies, which is exciting to see. We also got to see Meg confront the home that she was raised in with her father. I think it's just so cool to see Meg kind of confront her past, but also own up to her past and make it her own, and now use her past in order to fight the emperors, the triumvirate. It's gonna be great. I think it's just amazing. I think like the last 2 books are gonna be so amazing and so wonderful, and it's just gonna really deliver. I don't know if there's anything else I want to say about this book, because a lot of the stuff that I want to say are spoilers. I found that Piper and Jason's appearance in this book was just amazing as well. A really nice refresher from the Heroes of Olympus and just revisiting their character dynamic again, but seeing the way that it's also changed, and also Piper's growth. I think we'll definitely see more of her as the series progresses, or maybe in another series, who knows. We also got to meet some new characters in this, like Aloe Vera, Joshua, and also Crest. As you probably will notice by the B-roll, I'm using ukulele music because Apollo, and also Crest, because now I imagine Apollo teaching Crest ukulele music, and it's wonderful and beautiful. We'll now be moving on to the 4th book of the series, The Tyrant's Tomb, which I've kind of color matched with pastel-wise. I feel like this is Apollo and potentially Raina on the cover, purely because that's not a sim, so it can't be Meg. So I feel like it's Apollo and Raina. Oh no, there's Meg. Meg is right down there. There's Meg. That's Apollo, and I think that's Raina. So it should be pretty good. But I'm really excited to continue on with this and read it, and I think it's gonna be amazing, especially since we're seeing Apollo and Meg go back to Camp Jupiter now and basically see what's happening with there. I mean, they need Raina's help. And so, yeah, I feel like this is going to start gearing up for the final battle in the Tower of Nero. I just hope no one dies in this. Please, no one die in this book. I need a rest. I need an emotional rest. But yeah, I guess time will tell. So I'm going to get to reading The Tyrant's Tomb, and I'll be back with all my thoughts on the whole spiel, and maybe give some foreshadowing thoughts for the end, which is weird because it's strange that we're almost done with this series and then done with the current riordanverse. I'll see you in a bit, besties. Okay, so before we put the dust jacket back on, I made myself a cup of tea so I can discuss this book, but look at how they match. This is pure coordination from me today, especially with the next book. But as always, let us get the dust jacket back on so that we can discuss this. Oh, this book. Okay, so first of all, Rick Riordan, how dare you? How dare you play me like that? Like, I'm sorry. I was literally crying. I was tearing up. And then you decide, I gotcha. Rude. That was absolutely rude. Can I forgive you? Absolutely. But still, I hate that you did that. But also, I really loved it because, I just couldn't deal. I couldn't deal. This book definitely sets up a lot of the last novel that we're about to get into, but also it kind of gives us this culmination of everything that's been happening at Camp Jupiter, the things that have been going on, and also the future of Camp Jupiter, which is really exciting to see. We only get to meet like Frank, Hazel, Raina, and a new character Lavinia and Dawn for like very short time, but they grow so much in this book. And I think like each of them have like their slight changes that allows them to become fully fleshed out as characters and fully have their character arcs that began in the Heroes of Olympus. And it's just amazing because all of like each one of them is just chef's kiss, so beautifully written. I think we also get to see Meg come into her own in this, in the way that she's starting to vocalize her emotions towards Apollo, because they have this kind of sibling relationship that I really love and adore. And the way that Meg is just kind of protective over Apollo because she's like that annoying little sister. It kind of reminds me a lot of the sibling relationship between me and my little sister, where she's like very like, we argue and bicker, but like there's that kind of protective quality that we have over each other, and it's very reminiscent of that. And to be fair, she did act a lot like Meg when she was younger as well, so I kind of relate. Does that make me Apollo? I mean, he is my godly father, so perhaps. But I also think the plot of this was very well like crafted and succinct. I think it followed a like singular plot thread that was very easy to follow, but also harkens back to a lot of the things that I mentioned earlier, with Apollo having to face up to his past and own up to his mistakes, and that kind of humanity coming into it, and him humanizing and feeling empathy and emotion and just realizing that his mistakes were bad. But Raina made a very good point during this novel where she says that like, you know you've grown when you've realized what you've done in the past was bad and that you know it was a mistake, and by that it shows your growth as a character. And I think it's like very true in that, and the actions of Apollo reflects this. Riordan tells us through Raina that Apollo is growing as a person, but he's also showing us through Apollo's actions and kind of Apollo's perspective. And that is that really kind of good thing of like telling versus showing. Like sometimes it's okay to tell, but you need to back it up with showing, otherwise the telling doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm learning a lot by writing through this. Commodus and Caligula were formidable villains, but also Tarquin, the last king of Rome, they were just formidable villains, and I loved it. I loved the way that they crafted their plot. It was fairly interesting. I really liked them as villains because they really made our characters think and concoct a plan. It really showed the skills of the Camp Jupiter lot. I think the callbacks to Roman mythology were also very well appreciated, showing the distinction between the Greek and the Roman. I also really liked the appearances of some of the gods that we got within this, and it was very exciting to kind of see that. We also had to deal with the aftermath of the death in the previous book, which was very hard hitting, but also I think was just so well done. It was a really fast-paced novel. Like I got through this really quickly, like even quicker than I did like Riordan's previous novels, because the pace was really quick and it was really easy to read. And so I'm very excited to see what's going to happen in the next book. Now, I don't really think there's much else to like talk about with this book. Everything was kind of simple. Like we saw Tyson and Ella again, of course, like with the Sibyllian novels, which was the oracle of this book. Now we get to see Apollo and Meg continue on their final journey towards the Tower of Nero, which its nakedness is blue and it matches with this. Like I've got three kind of different blues here, and they all just work well together because they all like link in some sort of way, and I really love that for me. Like, wow. But yes, we're now approaching the end game of the Trials of Apollo series, where Apollo is probably going to fight Python, which is going to be an interesting thing. If Apollo he still looks like he's in his mortal form, that's going to be interesting to say the least. However, I really do feel like Apollo has come such such a long way since the Hidden Oracle, and I feel like along with Meg, he's going to be very much changed for the better. I think he's going to be offered a choice whether he'll return to his godly form or not, but I'm really excited to read it. But I'm also really sad because this is like the last major novel in the riordanverse as of yet. I mean, there's Daughter of the Deep, which I don't actually, if it actually links to the riordanverse or not, but then there's also the Rick Riordan Presents series, which a lot of you recommended that I read, but like this is the last major one by Rick Riordan until like the Nico D'Angelo novel comes out, which I will be like, you know, parking Marco Shiro for the arc of. But yeah, like this journey has come so far and now we're going to see how it ends. Surprisingly, actually, this isn't the shortest novel in the series, like the majority of riordanverse series are. Like usually the last book is the shortest. The first book is actually the shortest and this one's the second shortest. I'm going to be finishing the Trials of Apollo series and reading The Tower of Nero, and I'll be back, besties, to give my whole thoughts and feelings and my whole like wrap up of the Trials of Apollo series, and it's just been such an amazing journey, and let's go on our last ride, besties. I'll see you in a bit. Good morning, besties. So for the final time for a little while, let's get the dust jacket back on so we can discuss this book. So, The Tower of Nero was such an emotional climax to the Trials of Apollo series and also the Camp Half-Blood Chronicles as we see fit for the moment. Apollo is just such an amazing character. I think that his characterization was done super well in this book and in this series as well, actually, because we see him go from this kind of pompous prick that's like all about me, like he's very like narcissistic to someone that became very selfless, caring about others, and also kind of just becoming a more decent person overall. Like, I'm truly proud of my dad. It was interesting to kind of see his relationship with his children evolve and also see his relationship with humanity evolve as he became more human himself. I definitely think Apollo has changed forever. We won't see him go back to his old ways ever again because of the things that he experienced. And as well, with the ending of this novel, with him seeing the gods again, it kind of puts everything into perspective for him. I mean, yes, he had become immortal 2 times before, but like, I think this third time more specifically really gave him the kick that he needed to become more humanized. And I think Artemis sees this in him as well and kind of relates to him a bit. But she has that kind of balance between godliness and humanity, I think, because of her hunters. Also, we kind of stan Hera in this novel a bit, which is weird for me. But yeah, if we're going over all the other characters, I think like Austin and Kayla were amazing. Will and Nico, chef's kiss. We even got to see some of the cave dwellers that Nico was on about, which is cute. And we definitely got to see the plot threads now that it's going to be in the Solangelo novel, which I like DM'd Mark about yesterday. I was like, I finished the Trials of Apollo, so I'm going to need the Solangelo novel or whatever it's actually called. Yeah, and so now I know the title. I'm kidding, I don't. But I want to know the title of this novel. It's just amazing to see how everything culminates. And also now where Nico and Will will head to next, probably into the depths of Tartarus. Especially with the prophecy that Rachel Elizabeth Dare gave, but we don't actually know what the prophecy is yet. And I'm really excited to find out what it is in the Solangelo novel. We'll probably find out potentially as we hear more about the novel, so it's going to be very exciting for that. The end to this novel kind of reminded me of like the David Tennant end to the era where he kind of visited all of his companions and just seeing like all of them and just for like one last time. It kind of felt like that. It was a very culminative moment because we really got to see kind of how everyone's getting on and how everyone's doing, and it was just amazing. I very much cried at the end where he has his interaction with Meg, and Meg's just like, we're gonna be friends forever, right? And he's like, yeah, we are. And this sibling dynamic, like Apollo says, he loves her like a sister, and it was just such an amazing kind of thing to witness and see the growth of their friendship, but their growth as people as well, and each other supporting each other in that growth. And I think Meg is just going to grow up to be such an amazing demigod. Apollo's final fight with Nero and also Python was just epic. It was like the Avengers kind of climax that I always wanted, and also just like in the end where it was just Apollo by himself fighting against Python, it kind of culminated everything that he had learned about his journey, and just he was like, yes, this is who I am and this is who I'm meant to be. And it was epic. It was so epic. I very much enjoyed this series so much. Rick Riordan's writing just gets better with every series, and I'm internally jealous. It's not imposter syndrome, but I'm like, will I ever write as good as this? Will I ever write as good as Rick Riordan in this series? And I'm like, well, Rick Riordan has been writing since like 2000 and something, like with like the very first Percy Jackson novel and 39 Clues and whatever. And it's just like, one day I will get here, and I'm really excited for it. And like, it's really very much inspired me to work more on my mythology series that I want to work on. I've been doing a lot of research into Welsh mythology yesterday and the interactions it has with Arthurian legend. It's a lot, and I'm very much inspired now to continue working on it because of the Trials of Apollo. Maybe one day you'll get to read it, and hopefully it'll be just as epic as this, although hopefully you're as interested in Welsh mythology as you are in Greek and Roman mythology. As we now wrap up the entirety of the Trials of Apollo series. This series has honestly been epic. I think these spines are probably some of my favourite spines in the whole of the riordanverse. I'm so glad to have finally read it, and I've just read the series that I needed as a kid. Like, the whole riordanverse has been an epic journey. Like, the Tower of Nero only came out last year, so if I had been reading the riordanverse since I was younger, I probably would have read it already. But it's weird to think that, like, I only had read it this year, but I feel like it would have been so invaluable to me as a child to have read Percy Jackson. It probably would have given me a lot more confidence, and confidence that I needed back then. But I definitely think it's definitely a series that I want to encourage, like, young people, adults, like anyone of any age really. They can still read Percy Jackson, they can still read like the whole of the riordanverse, Trials of Apollo, Heroes of Olympus, and they can still like feel the things that they could have felt as children. Like, it's never too late to pick up a book, any book. Like, you can be an adult and read a middle grade series and still feel the magic from middle grade. I think that's the way that literature can transform us, because literature can have a transformative quality no matter your age. The riordanverse has basically just shown me that you can be powerful, you can be magical, no matter who you are or where you've come from or your past. It only matters what you do now that can make the change on the future. And it's very amazing, and it's just iconic. A closing note for the Trials of Apollo, would definitely recommend, and if you haven't read it yet, do so, because you're going to be missing out. But yeah, that basically wraps up the Trials of Apollo and episode 5 of Reading the Riordanverse. Join us next month where I'll be ranking every single book in the riordanverse that I've read so far. And also, I probably will do a video where I read all of like the short stories and the supplemental content. I might try and pair that with Daughter of the Deep. I might potentially tier rank the characters of the riordanverse as well, potentially, if you'd want to be up for that. I think these videos are not going to be monthly anymore. I'm going to do them as and when, and especially as we wait for solangelo novel. I know a lot of you also want me to read the Rick Riordan Presents series, like Tristan Strong. I've read Dragon Pill last year, but I probably would go to reread it when the sequel comes out, and also like Arushar and the End of Time. I would love your suggestions on like other series that you want me to read. Like, yes, we've read the riordanverse, but like maybe there's other series you'd like me to read. I know this is adult, but I know people want me to read the Cosmere. There's also Wheel of Time, which comes out in November. But anyway, a massive thank you to Audible for sponsoring today's video. You can go to audible.com/fictional fates or text fictional fates to 500 in order to get a free 30-day trial. Thank you so much for watching this video, besties. It's just been a lot of fun to read the riordanverse with you, and if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you're new here, be sure to click that subscribe button so that you're notified whenever I upload next. We're literally nearing 70,000 subscribers, and my brain is not computing with that number, but it's just amazing to see so many amazing friends on this channel. And if you want to check out any of my other social medias, I'll have them all linked in the description down below for you, plus a link to my coffee page just in case you want to leave a well-appreciated tip. And yeah, that is everything. Wow. I've had so much fun, besties, and I can't wait to explore more of the riordanverse with you in the future. And so yeah, I guess until the next time, bye besties.